East Asia International Management, but we're focusing on styles, trends, technology, and the future, for sure. Please make sure you're aware of the future-related topics like joint ventures with China or the implications for Chinese neighbors, implications after ASEAN. Those are in the textbook. Please make sure you're aware of those things. But more important, I'm going to be talking about review of what we've covered so far, what's happening now, and I think it's most important for future management for everybody to understand the management theories that we've had, the motivational theories that have been proposed. All of those theories are generally made on a developing basis. As time goes by, as years go by, we learn more and more. One thing that's happening now is big data and the internet. So you definitely must understand this concept of big data. With big data, you must be able to analyze big data. And that means the big data analysis. And that's generally associated with social media. And then we'll go through a bunch of the references and questions for discussion. So for a review, I've talked to you about various theories and criticisms. We talked about Maslow, Herzberg, McGregor, economic, environment, open comparative management models. I've talked to you about how United States grew from agrarian society to the industrial society in 100 years. Japan did it in 70 years by reverse engineering the states. And Korea expanded, reverse engineering the states and reverse engineering Japan, and was able to develop much, much faster. China, because it's so huge, is developing incredibly fast. They just haven't developed as fast as Korea has. We've talked about the percent of international management studies in the United States, or globally, and that was in here, talking about how there's 11,000 articles talking about international management. So there's 11,000 people writing SSCI expert articles about international management in papers like this. However, what was important for you guys to understand is, even though they say it's international management, it's usually talking about working in just one country by one company. So it's not really international, and it's not even dealing with other cultures. So we had to talk about how that needs to change. In the future, you need to understand cultures will impact how you manage. Where you do work will impact how you manage. For example, in the 2 Million Minutes movie, we talked about how of the time in high school, China studies almost 600,000 minutes, which is similar to Korea. India studies 400,000, and the United States is almost half of, they spend their time studying or in school doing half the time of studies that they do in Korea or China. And even with that, a lot of it is focused on sports. We talked about the importance of parochialism, ethnocentrism, culture. We talked about the culture of Samsung, how it has to be number one, and how they're advertising themselves as number one. They're competing with the biggest market value company, being Apple right now, compared to Hyundai, which is much more frugal. And Hyundai, surprisingly, is always considered kind of low and just a regular car, not the best in the world. And some people studying it were thinking about, how can we help Hyundai grow to be the best in the world without realizing the details? For example, Hyundai is ranked number 8 in the world for car companies. But that's just Hyundai. And it says that Kia is ranked for automotive something like number 13 in the world, which is surprising because like Toyota and the Japanese companies, Toyota and Lexus are combined as one, or GM and Cadillac is combined as one. But Hyundai, being a frugal culture and they're a modest culture, they're not promoting themselves as number one like Samsung is, Hyundai allows people to think Kia is completely separate, which it is not. If you combine those two companies, they are closer to the number one in the world, but they prefer to be quieter and growing. They have less of the spotlight, less attention, less attacks like Samsung and Apple, or less attacks like Toyota and GM. So we've talked about that. Cultural differences. We obviously talked about the idea of cultural differences. And I will get into that in a little while. But at the beginning of this topic, we're talking about management, the future of management. So what is management again? Management theories go from beyond the scientific management studies and Frederick Taylor's management studies into the motivational studies. And in the 1920s, we had these studies by Hawthorne showing that just by showing you care, just by showing you're noticing the other workers has impact. And all he did was what? What did Hawthorne do in his studies? Yes, all he did was turn the lights off and people started to work. They went back to work. And then he turned the lights on. The workers realized management is watching. They kind of care or they're around, so they went back to work. And then we went to 1943. It's a little bit more developed, more advanced. Abraham Maslow, he developed the hierarchy of needs. And it's from the physiological needs, not psychological needs. Please make sure that's clear. From the physiological needs need to be met to the all human safety needs need to be met before you worry about all human social needs, and then all humans will want the esteem needs being respect, prestige, recognition, and power, and only after all humans get their needs met for respect, prestige, recognition, and power, then all humans will want to have the self-actualization or maximization of individual potential. And that was so important that many people consider he is an Einstein. He's still talked about a lot nowadays, but I'm going to give some new comments in the next couple of slides. And then from there, 1943 to 1950s, Herzberg was saying that there's a variety of conditions, for example, whether it's the hygiene factors or motivational factors. There's various things that need to be met in order to motivate workers. Other motivational management theories go into the McGregor theories and the reinforcement theories to the equity theories. In addition to these, as we can see here, it says McGregor theories, he has theory X, Y, and Z, but it only shows here X and Y. He started with these theories X and Y, generally saying, no, some people, some workers don't want responsibility, don't really care about working too much, so you need a manager to look over them and push them. Don't give them too much responsibility. Look over them, say, what are you doing? Do this, do this, do this. Some people like that. There's other types of workers and management that prefer to have the yes, I want responsibility, the Y style of management. So you need to understand that those managers, it's fine simply to say, here's a project, I need to get it done. I think it matches your interests. You can take it if you want, and you can be responsible for any aspects just to get the project done. And then you do everything on your own. You have that responsibility. Some people like that, and they associate that with the American merit-based system. Anyway, that's in the 1980s. It's relatively new. However, it's still not the best theory around the world. It depends on where you are. During the 1980s, there's something else happening around the world. What was very important for at least North America and maybe the world in the 1980s? Cars. We just started talking about Hyundai cars, but in the 1980s, what was very, very powerful, very, very important around the world? Toyota. Toyota was starting to make the high quality cars at a very low price and supplying those cars to almost everybody. And they were able to provide many cars in the North American market where they didn't really have the competition before. It was basically just the GM and Ford, maybe some BMW, maybe some Mercedes, but all of a sudden Japan started to grow like crazy with high quality and low price. Everybody loved them. And so they made a new study saying, how are they doing it? And they made this new study, which is the Z-type, XYZ style theory, which is saying in Japanese companies, everybody in the company has a say in what's going to happen. It's a hierarchical, like a pyramid style of business. So people at the bottom have the most people, most minds, most ideas. They can come up with an idea, and if they agree it's a good idea amongst those people, they will propose that idea to their managers, and those managers will discuss it, and if it's a good idea, they will propose it to the top level executives. If it's not, they will send it back down for re-engineering or updating. But if it is accepted by all these levels going up, then the CEO can basically take that idea. Everybody has basically already commented on it and understands it. So everybody in the organization has a say on management. So they're saying that is a new style of management. And it was very good because, it must be very good because Toyota's using it and they grew around the world. There's other styles like the reinforcement theory. The reinforcement theory basically says, kick your butt if you need it. Some people need the negative reinforcement, pushing you, and if you get pushed, or the nice word is if you like a challenge. Some people like the challenge, so they want the boss to be challenging them, pushing them. Not a negative way, but a positive way challenge. So having you around. Perhaps that's like the Philippine management style, where some of the managers will be over top of the workers, giving them suggestions or pushing them, and that is appreciated. Versus in North America, they don't want somebody over top of them. They want more sort of freedom, and some people are saying that another style is the positive reinforcement. All you need to say is, good job, Joe, good job, Kim, whatever, and then that person is happy and they will go ahead and develop their business. As long as you have a positive reinforcement. Maybe a positive reinforcement could be a bonus. And of course, the equity theory. There's two theories that are similar, equity theory and the expectancy theory. With the equity theory, again, I'm reminding you that equity is related to ownership, stock options, so sharing the percent of work in the company with the percent of profit is the equity theory. The expectancy theory is saying that I will work if I will expect something good in return. For example, a bonus. So we've talked about those. These are the summaries of all of those various theories from Hawthorne to Maslow to Herzberg, McGregor, theory Z, expectancy theory, equity theory, reinforcement theory. But there are problems with those. Those were developed a while ago, and now with globalization, more importantly, with this is changing the world. Now that we have data on everything, and everybody is connected and you can share information, it's definitely changing. So we see that there's problems. Most of those theories are based on North American subjects. And as we see with Hofstede's dimensions, it explains why there's different priorities based on different areas. For example, Korea has very high uncertainty avoidance. It does not mean that Korean people are uncertain. You may be able to spell things better than I can. You may have better grammar than I do. However, I might have higher levels of confidence making suggestions or proposals or making mistakes. But a lot of Korean people, they will avoid that even if they're certain of the answer. So uncertainty avoidance is different than just straight uncertainty. And that varies from country to country, like the other Hofstede's factors. What else? With three motives, again, there's other theories that are talking about how they can be contradicted. Achievements are hardly translatable. Just that word achievement sometimes is not translatable into other languages. Herzberg's theory. Again, there's a matter of motivation which is more heavily related to culture-specific details. For example, the same study, the exact same study that you would do with Herzberg in the United States does not work in New Zealand, even though many people think it's the exact same type of country, exact same type of culture. And in Asia, hygiene factors had a greater frequency of satisfaction and motivation. So there are differences. These theories of Maslow's theories, Herzberg theories, McGregor's theories don't work everywhere. You need to understand each area can be different. Next, expectancy theory. A contradiction with that is, for example, individualism and collectivism. In the past, it's actually a good example now. Usually I have my cell phone as a wallet, but I could take some money out. And I remember when I was starting to teach at Yonsei several years ago, some students, because of the uncertainty avoidance, they didn't propose answers very often. So I used to go out and propose to give cash prizes to people. And if somebody answered, I'd give them $10. And since somebody else left a wallet here, I can give you lots more today. But surprisingly, that person that answered and got money, what happened? They didn't answer anymore. In a Western country like Canada or United States, or people that have that Western culture, which could be people here, it would be different. People will do things just for the money, maybe even in China. But in Korea, with the uncertainty avoidance and the power distance and the individualism, collectivism, all of those combine. There's many things that combine. Hierarchy. I'm high, I'm the older guy, I'm the professor, you're younger, you're not supposed to be teaching me something, you're not supposed to be telling me things. Collectivism. If you as one individual say something, that's kind of opposite of the collective group mind, and so some people will feel bad that I answered it, but everybody else looks bad. It makes it look like they don't know the answers, I do, so they feel bad for the other people. And so I've actually given prizes, cash, to some students in the past, and then saw them crying. And I was shocked they wouldn't talk again. And it was explained because they make the other feel bad, or they're treated as wangta afterwards, as an outsider, for example. So again, that's related to the expectancy theory, and each culture needs to be managed differently. So I surveyed people. If it's not just money, what is it? And I surveyed, and I tried to test, and remember, what is SRC? Very, very important with management. What is SRC? Self-reliance criterion. Yourself is a huge obstacle. You must understand yourself and then understand how other people are different in order to manage yourself and other people well. So, since I obviously made a problem giving cash to workers and giving extra cash also to students, I needed to test my SRC, so I surveyed students and I asked them, what do you respect the most? Or what do you want the most? What do you value the most? Looking for cultural values. And almost all students said food. They want food. So I gave gift certificates to the fancy cafeterias and the fancy restaurants around. And I gave certificates to Outback and Vips around these fancy restaurants. But then again, those students that asked for the food and said they wanted food did the same. They didn't answer again. Again, it was because of the collectivism and individualism. If it's just one person saying something, making the rest sort of feel bad, it has difficulties. And it turns out it's best to have people working in groups. Surprise, surprise, we're in a group-oriented society where people can work in a group, generally with the same age groups, and then somebody in the group will be more comfortable talking and they can propose those answers. That's one of the reasons why we do that in this class. Next, it is interesting to see a lot of those theories, especially the expectancy theories, change depending on the countries, depending on where you are. English-speaking countries may be different than French, different than North European, etc. So what are some other things to think about? As we're going outside of just the motivational theories, we get into if somebody's motivated, or if you know what motivates them, but then they're just still not working well in the company, what can you do? Maybe it's related to the company. Maybe it's the job, the position. So we can talk about the compensation program. What does compensation mean? Reward, yes. Reward for your efforts, such as? Bonus, yes, such as so far, a reward could be anything. A bonus could be anything. Most people think of it as money, cash. You guys are either very, very intelligent or you're lucky because rewards and bonuses, they could be extra free time. A bonus vacation week or a bonus trip to go travel the world or something. Or a bonus to go work with the CEO if they like those types of power. So it doesn't always have to be cash. When you're managing people, please make sure you understand a lot of people by accident or by habit have it in their head that cash is what makes companies work. That's not always true. Cash is just one part of it, but it's usually better to find out what specifically motivates those people. And a lot of you may be surprised. Your most important values are probably not money. You might have to think about it for quite a while, but after you do think about it, you might want other things more than money. So other than that, there's job security. For example, in Japan, a lot of people will want to work for Toyota and big Japanese corporations or state-owned corporations if they have these lifelong jobs, which are basically disappearing in Korea and disappearing in many parts of the world, but are still kind of popular in Japan. Job security might be at the top of the hierarchy of needs for Japanese people very, very differently than for North Americans. Or flexible work schedules, or employee involvement programs, where people can actually do things, such as Google, that gives people 1 day a week to do anything they want, as long as they can show the results within the 24 hours. So we've talked about motivational theories, we've talked about job management theories, position management theories, and now we have this little picture here that's quite popular talking about leadership styles. And again, this was proposed by people in North America, Western people, and a lot of Western people generally think the middle is good or the center is good, if not at the top. But here, the middle of this chart is saying participative style. And that is interpreted as being maybe the best. It's not this, it's not too much of this extreme, and it's not too bad in this area, going up too much. The free rein style in French means laissez-faire, or basically do whatever. And if you can do whatever, that's a type of company where you just go in and the boss says, go ahead, help me work, take on whatever thing, and you just do it. That type of freedom, some people say is not good, especially the people that are comfortable with the participative management style. What is the opposite extreme of having absolute freedom to do anything? It might be the dictator style of job. Dictators generally has a very negative view. An alternative word for it is autocratic. An autocratic dictator is terrible. Nobody wants to work for that in the English world or in the Western world. However, that is a misunderstood description of somebody in another country. That would be somebody in the participative style negatively viewing the other extremes and putting a negative word on it. What is a possible Korean management style? Yonsei is Korea's premier private university, and they are run by a president, just like many other organizations. And the president here, is he open with absolutely all information? Does he allow you to vote on absolutely everything? No. Would you say he's a dictator? Absolutely not. Most people love him, just like what? Just like a father. It's the paternal style or the fatherly style of management. So it depends where you are. Yes, please make sure you understand that. Where you are depends on what management styles you should be using. So overall, there's a variety of different leadership styles or competencies. They depend on knowing yourself first. You have to know who you are, what you're good at, what you're bad at. Then you must know what the other people are good at, who they are, what is their culture, what are their values. And then, similar to that, that's the regulation, what you're good at, what they're good at. And then what motivates you and what motivates the other people. It can be incredibly different. And you must have the emotional intelligence to manage those, or the cultural intelligence to manage those things. So here's the cultural intelligence. It's the capability of a person to adapt effectively to new cultural contexts. Cognitive, motivational, behavioral aspects, there's a variety of things. As we saw, it depends mostly culture on that circle. Culture is made up of values, which make the attitudes, which makes your behaviors, which goes back to making your culture. It goes around. And then we can review more details. For example, Hofstede. Hofstede obviously talked about power distance, individualism, uncertainty avoidance, career orientation, quality of life, which is an upgraded version of his original masculinity, femininity. Who created the career orientation, mass, and quality of life style? Who created this book? Nancy Adler from McGill University in Canada. So again, surprise, surprise, maybe a little bit more relaxed in Europe, where Hofstede is from. He just said it was the masculine femininity describing the aggressiveness or the relationship focused, which was feminine. But in Canada, that idea of saying just men do this, women do this, might be kind of illegal. So we'll have the Canadian person saying it's career-oriented versus quality of life-oriented. And then we got into the long-term orientation, which some people misunderstand. Other theories of culture relate to Hall, which is talking about high context, low context, Cluckhorn, Trompenaar, Swartz, Globe. There's a variety of different cultural views. So this is also a review of the other aspects we've covered in the book. For example, the Art of War by Sun Tzu. Here's more information about Sun Tzu's Art of War, moral influence, the idea of that. But now that we've caught up with our review, what is happening now? The big things that are happening now are like the change of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were on the world. Something happened, the whole planet changed, dinosaurs disappeared. Except for some of the professors around here, maybe. But other than the dinosaurs changing the world, and fire changing the whole planet, how that changes people's lives, and the wheel, how that changes people, we also had the printing press change the way things work. As I said before, Rockefellers and Carnegies and Vanderbilts, JP Morgan, all of those guys are generally considered some of the wealthiest people in history. They had far more money than Bill Gates does today. What is similar about those people? Almost all of those people were basically living about the same time, which was many years ago, over 100 years ago, back in like the 1870s. And at that time, oil was just starting. Steel was just starting. And the idea of banking was just really starting. So those people took those things that were starting and were able to make businesses out of it and became hugely successful. Well, today, this decade is another huge timing change or era or paradigm shift just like that. You have the ability to do almost anything. The fact that you guys are born with cell phones, the fact that you guys have cell phones all the time, the fact that you guys literally, I have a 3 or 4-year-old child that when he was 2, he knew how to change the battery and he knew how to guess my secret code to unlock it and download videos. Illegal videos that you're supposed to pay for, but he's 2 years old, found how to get them without paying. Those type of things you guys take for granted and are changing the world. So how are they changing the world? Web 1 and Web 2.0 are ways that it's changing. What this shows is the idea of the first book, or the first academic book in 1663. That changed a lot of people. But it's nothing compared to the changes we're going through now. These are good changes. Before we get into this, is there any other comments? Do you guys agree? Do you understand that I think the last 10 years, or this 10 years, your life, you have more opportunities, maybe in history, since the dinosaurs, to do almost anything. Just like the Rockefellers. What do you guys think? Am I just a crazy old man? I did too much business, maybe too much going in the planes, flying up and down, the pressure adjusted my brain. Any comments from you? You guys realize, is there anything that could have changed the world more than what's happening in these 10 years in your life? And what's very important is, it's not, like I have a 4-year-old son, and it's not really going to be that important for him, because at 4 years old, he doesn't have the abilities to change the world, to start a big company. But you do. When I was your age, I already had several companies. You guys can definitely start a company, live on your own, manage people anywhere in the world. So it's your age with these changes, big data and social media, that are huge. Is there anything that you could think of that's more important than that? Other than partying and getting naked on a beach with a beer? No? I have to remember we're talking about university students and what are your values. No comments. Let's go on into what trends impact people in Korea. Of course, the internet has been exploding since 1998 in Korea. And Twitter is new and it's growing. Facebook is new and growing. It's sort of replacing the idea of Psy World. But more important than that, we have Kakao Talk. And in some ways, more important than Kakao Talk is the Naver. And Naver is very different than Google because of the cultural differences. And these are exploding. Well, what about in other areas of East Asia? In China, it's basically the same. 1998, the internet started to explode. It was growing exponentially. And we have this Baidu, or we have this Weibo, and we have this Renren, or QQ, which is very, very different than in other areas of the world. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter are not popular in China. These are. So you must understand, if you're managing, where are the most people? China. Where is the most growth in general? Probably in China. So what is unique to them? You must know if you really want to be that next new Rockefeller, if you want to manage international business. So what do you need to understand? Any comments about this? Anybody want to comment on it? Yes?
Yesterday, I had dinner with those Chinese exchange students, and I had opportunity to exchange our contact numbers and Facebook and stuff, but then they told me nobody uses PC these days in China. It's like old days.
They're probably referring to just Renren. Okay. There's definitely a lot of what we heard is that speaking with modern people, Chinese people, they're definitely still not using Facebook, and they're using more modern styles of things. It depends where you are. But the thing to note is it's completely different than the Western world. This is a picture of social media programs around the world. We see Facebook, we see LinkedIn, Facebook being SNS, social networking systems, or professional social networking like LinkedIn. You should understand that in each country, it's possible to change. And in Korea, what would you say might be even more popular than the professional SNS LinkedIn in Korea? Or Link Now. Almost the exact same program, but designed for Koreans, is called Link Now. And yes, Naver would be more like some of these others, and Kakao would be more like some of these others, the chatting, but yes, they are different. You can see that there's a variety of different things, including the Y keys, which are interesting. At the bottom, what's this? If we're looking at it, is that 5 o'clock for you guys? Anyway, at the bottom corner, we see Baidu and Y key or Wikipedia. That is a hugely different type of management system. I hope you guys understand that YKey is one of the biggest companies in the world, right? It's one of the easiest places to go to learn almost anything in the English world, similar to Baidu. In China, they're using Baidu. But how is it managed? You should understand that it's basically it has one employee, one full-time employee. All the rest are just volunteer experts around the world. Professors are basically used, or they're given the honorary title to edit a certain field. And there's several of these experts or scientists or business experts or professors around the world that check these things together with computer programs. So yes, some people say that, oh, it can't be very good because you can put in any data. And you can have a stupid person putting something in, or you can have a liar putting something in just to confuse you. Yes, that's true. You can do that. But with the intelligence and the data analytics, that is corrected incredibly fast. They're able to find out with the computer programs if something is normal within these ranges and a value comes in that's a little bit outside of normal, a red flag will be there and an expert has to go and check it right away. Or if it's too far out of normal, it might automatically be deleted. So that type of big data analysis is impacting the world. And Wikipedia, however it might have had a bad name in the past, is now incredibly accurate. Crowdsourcing, getting answers from many people, has proven to be better than asking one of the world's experts. Please understand that. If you were trying to grow a company and you want some sort of expert advice, in the old days, if you want expert advice, you go to one expert and you ask that one person. That there is now out of date. It is now proven to be better to just put that question in a community where there's many people that can communicate, or many possible experts, like the Naver expert blogs, and ask them. And that group, or the crowdsourcing of information, is generally more accurate than having some of the world's best experts commenting alone. So, again, what is big data? Obviously, it's not the grammar check, but everyone uses computers in general. All information remains in electronic devices. There's a number of inserted information that's, the amount is just uncountable. It's just growing like crazy. I believe we're talking about zettabytes. You guys know the idea of kilobyte, which, maybe we can help do this together. So with kilobyte, we have basically a 1, and then like this, right? This would be kilobyte. And then the next we'll have here megabytes. Next, gigabytes. Is that a gigabyte or is that a billion? It goes from M to, shouldn't there be a B? Anyway, I don't even know, but there is something up to the zettabytes. Anybody know how much that is? Interesting question for you guys to check out. What about the whole idea of, I believe, do you know what this is? This refers to an amount of information. So that the name Google comes from this word, which is just talking about a huge amount of information. When they were starting the company Google, they realized there's a huge amount of information and they are just going to organize that and be able to show you the search results from that huge amount. That's what that name comes from. So big data, what is that? It's the unexpected growth and convergence of social, device, equipment, and corporate data. There's an incredible amount of noise being created. Without a strategy, companies will get lost in this noise. Big data is instant access to data with instant insight or understanding or analysis capabilities, analytics. Companies can be agile, which means flexible, fast, act on these emerging trends, engage with their customer base, and also expose potential risks and rewards, new areas. 3 main functions of big data. Number 1, big data can give you a significant insights in customer behavior to spot the trends, predict the demand, etc. Do you guys realize that even several years ago, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago, I met one of the vice presidents of Google. And he could tell me when we met, the first time we ever met. I never knew him before. He didn't know me, but he told me, you should be careful because in about a week from now, there's going to be a lot of people getting sick in Seoul. I was like, what is this guy talking about? He's going to tell me when I'm going to get sick next week? What is that? Is he going to give me a virus? Is he a terrorist? And he's like, no, 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 no. It's just following this big data around the world. He sees people on the computers are typing in medicine in Tokyo, or people on the computers are typing in doctor or flu or vaccine in these different cities. And it's moving around the world, and he can see it's coming towards Seoul. More importantly than that, it's not just people entering information with your fingers. The idea when you go and buy cough medicine, you buy it at a machine that takes your digital information from your credit card and the digital information from the company saying it's the flu medicine, and it puts it together, so all of that company information, the electronic machine information, goes together with what the people are putting in on their keyboards, and that combines to be big data. There's even more than that. So he can tell you, you are going to get sick, or you're going to want to use these type of clothes in 2 months from now. He tells where the trends and the occurrences are going to be. Obviously, you need to know that stuff for your business. You can offer better value with this stuff for your customers. Some people complain because of the Privacy Act. Well, whether you like it or not, whether there's voting for you want the privacy or not, the trend is here. And it seems to be unstoppable. So understand it, accept it, learn it. Next, of course, there's so much information, you can analyze the data to decide your strategy and goals for your customer acquisition and or retention, etc. Here's an interesting picture. It's actually talking about big data. It's just too large, complex, and dynamic for any convenient or conventional data tools to capture. The right use of big data allows analysts or regular people to spot trends and give special ideas or insights or answers that help create value or innovation much faster than the older styles. And here it says there's 3 V's. Anybody understand these 3 V's? The 3 V's, what we're talking about here is volume. Again, here it's talking about the volume of information. And it says up here, the, oops, got to use this. As you can see over here, it's talking about the world in petabytes. With petabytes, this is saying there's 3,500 petabytes of information coming from North America, and 2,000 petabytes coming from Europe, and then there's a little bit, 400 coming from Japan, 250 coming from China. What they're trying to show is the amount of information is growing like crazy. You guys have already started to study international management. I hope you guys can have comments and criticize this picture. How can you criticize this picture? Might be too old, maybe. Who do you think made it? A North American, an English-speaking person, probably in North America. Right? And what about the idea of China? One of the reasons why this might not be considered, it's not just that China is a poor country, because China is not poor anymore. China is almost the world's most powerful, almost the wealthiest country or area in the world. It could be a large part just because of that SRC. People in Korea publish most information and write most of your information in your local language. Well, Japan is no different. They write most of their information and their data in their language, and Chinese people do the same. So please make sure you understand that. So volume is growing like crazy. Please make sure that you're aware of that. Next, a variety of information. It comes not just from people to people, and it's not just keyboards, but it comes from the machines, like your medical devices, or e-commerce, or your smart cards, your bank cards, your computers, your mobile phones. You know that just walking around, you can go on a date, and Google knows where you are, right? That type of concept, where people are going, impacts your business. How can it impact your business? Any ideas? you know how to target, you know how to grow, you know how to develop. For example, if you're going to make a zoo, let's say we're looking at the Seoul Grand Zoo. If you're designing that, if you're a business person, before you invest in setting up a new restaurant in the zoo, which could be shaped, that's the zoo, but there's the trails everywhere, where, the monkey zoo's over here, the bears are here. Where do you want to put your restaurant? You can check with your analytics and find where, just following the mobile phones, most people are walking here. 90% of all customers are walking this way. So that means you want your restaurant only around here. You don't want to be up here. You don't want to be here. Not even right at the front where you would think you want to be at the front. Because almost everybody just goes here. That can be tracked just by looking at where your cell phone went. And a lot of that information is not very hard to find. So not only what kind of business you're going to make, but where you make your business can be answered smartly or wisely by this big data. The future management relates directly to understanding the technology and the information around you. So, variety, again, the 3 V's, volume, variety. With variety, there's people to people, people to machine, machine to machine, like sensors, GPS devices I just talked about, barcode scanners, surveillance cameras. For example, some people might be surprised to know that Seoul has almost more cameras, downtown Seoul, than almost any other city in the world. However, because you know that, you might also understand that's one of the reasons why Seoul is one of the safest cities in the world. Because if anything gets lost or anything gets damaged or there's a problem, the government can see exactly what's happening at any time because of those camera systems. And that's all recorded digitally. Next, with the 3 V's, is the velocity. It says here, again, it might be biased, it might be North American information only, but this says 2.9 million emails sent every second. 20 hours of YouTube. Obviously, you'd have to stay up all day just to do what? Just to stay up all day just to look at the videos that are uploaded this minute, right now. So it's growing so fast, it's kind of amazing. And of course, 50 million tweets per day, and that doesn't even include what's going on in China, where there's far more people. There's more people on the internet with the mobiles than in all of Canada and the United States combined. So who does it impact? Of course it impacts the retail people because they seem to be the younger crowds in some ways. And they seem to be more hip, like you guys. You have this opportunity like the Rockefellers. It does also impact the consulting people. Anybody that wants to be a consultant, make sure you understand this. But look at this other stuff. 57% of organizations surveyed say that big data is a challenge. They must use it. 72% consider driving operational efficiencies to be the biggest benefit of big data. So big data gives them operational efficiencies. It helps them. 73% know that. 50% also say that big data helps in better meeting consumer demand and facilitating growth. Another thing that they're talking about here is that one of the biggest challenges for this is that they need people, most companies need people that understand this. So if you understand this stuff, you will basically be able to make your job anywhere you want. And it says here the 40% projected growth in global demand versus a bunch of the other information here. Let's go through this quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on it because every second, as we just saw, it's getting outdated. How fast is it growing? How fast, how long does it take to get 50 million users? Twitter took almost 1,100 days to get 50 million users. Facebook, basically what we're talking about is everyone in this country. So everybody in this country joined, like that number of people joined Twitter in 1,100 days. But it took Facebook 1,325 days. Line in Japan took 400 days. Much, much faster in Japan. And what is even faster than that? What is an example of a social program or a social service that grew faster than this? Do you think you can get 50 million people faster than 1 year? Come on, guys. Help me out here. What am I doing? What is this style?
Gangnam style.
Gangnam style, right. How long did it take Gangnam style to get 50 million users? How many users does he have now? We stopped counting at 1 billion, right? And then in his second song, The Gentleman, he got 1 billion users even faster. So you can get 1 billion users incredibly fast. And you don't have to be a rock star. How many people know the mayor of Seoul? Anybody even know his name? So you don't care very much about mayors. Okay, fine, we're business students. However, you do admit that rock stars might be more popular than mayors. But Canada has almost no people. And Canadian people move a lot slower than Korean people or some Chinese people or Singaporean people where everything's really fast, fast, fast. Go, go, go. Bally, bally, bally. Canadian mayor in Vancouver, he's kind of an older guy. He got on to the Chinese networking site and within 24 hours had 50,000 followers. Not just views, but people following him for every time he'd say anything. So if old mayors can do that, you guys can too. It's growing incredibly fast. This is talking about the idea of how fast it's growing. I can skip some of this stuff. The main thing, for example, it shows, obviously, the public, regular people are using this messaging service more than businesses. It makes sense. There's so many people in the world, but only so many companies in the world. And it's growing incredibly fast. The most popular, it shows here some information up here, but again, I hope as a manager, you guys are balancing this information and thinking clearly. For example, Tencent is this penguin guy, or Ren. Where are they from? Yeah, China. And this is saying from many years ago, by this 2010 digitalblogasia.com, it's talking about how China with QQ, they had 100 million users at the same time. Not just through a day, but just at the same time there's 100 million people using it. So it's going everywhere, including the information. It's not just the universities where people are getting the best information anymore. You can now get the best information online. Maybe it's better to have a human person with you to guide you, a mentor, in the guangxi, in the networking. However, you can get the information, if that's all you want, online now. From Harvard, MIT, Stanford, everywhere in the world. And it's not just these North American universities. For example, here's an article I submitted to Forbes a while ago, and it's saying that there are these MOOCs, the massive open online courses, actually started many years ago, but became popular in Canada, in the small little country. It was small, just a few people in Canada. At University of Manitoba in Canada, it was called the CCK08. It's basically the computer connectivity course. Australia has Open to Study, which is an online course which gives free courses to everybody. Brazil has Veduca, which again is a website where you can get almost any type of course about anything for free. A lot of it would be in Portuguese, but surprisingly, they take all of these English great classes or videos and show that with the Portuguese translation, so you can still benefit from that. Another one from Britain, they have Future Learn. Australia, Canada, they all have many, including Germany's iVersity is a very, very smart online platform where they wanted to get some of the best classes So not only did they just go to the universities and ask the universities to give me your best classes, that's the old style of management, right? If you want information and you go to one expert, is that the best thing to do? I just said a little while ago, today the best thing to do is you don't go to one expert, you put the question out there and you let the experts of the world solve the problem. So how can you do this? In Germany, they have this website called iVersity. They wanted to find what is the best teaching online? What are the best courses online? How can you do that? Where do you go? What university? Come on, I need some answers from you guys.
Harvard.
Harvard. Good guess. Definitely wrong. Not even in the top. Not even in the top 50%. Good guess, not even in the top 50% of iVersity's results. Come on guys, what was it that I just said? The old ways are you go to an expert and you ask. Peggle-pa, cultural difference, language, online what? So how can you do that? Online survey. You make a contest. You put the website information out there. Say, I will pay you $1,000 or $100,000 for whoever can find the best courses. And anybody in the world can find these and show it to you and they can win $100,000. Versus the old style, like these courses, Coursera, Udacity, and edX. If you want to make a course for them, Coursera will charge you $250,000 to make a course to put onto their program for free. However, this iVersity program in Germany, that's not just Coursera making a course for anybody at MIT or Harvard. Coursera is doing it just one by one person by one person. iVersity just went out to the whole world, said anybody in the world, if you can find something great, we'll give you half of that money. And they got almost all of the best answers from no-name universities around the world that were all provided for free. So again, crowdsource, get this information out there. So it's not just MIT, which is an interesting coincidence, or Harvard or Berkeley that's getting this information. edX is doing very, very well, but there's other better programs out there. So some of the social media leaders, what are some problems we're looking at here? This is another report saying the social media leaders of last year, Facebook and Google. This is North American biased. Again, please make sure you understand. Most of the internet users for a country are in China. Most mobile phone users are in China with China Mobile. So we have LinkedIn here, Pinterest. First of all, that idea of Facebook and Google are not very popular in China at all. Next, Twitter, again, is not very popular in China. Tagged is another program. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is just showing you that please don't misunderstand. The growth in traditional advertising spending is decreasing. It's not going down. The growth is going down, but it's still growing. It's just growing slower. It used to be going really fast, and now it's getting slower. So it's still growing, but at a much slower pace. What is happening, it's shown here. Above zero, the only thing that's generally above zero is internet. Internet business is growing. Outdoor business, decreasing. TV, decreasing. Magazines, newspapers, radio, it's all basically negative. So let's look at the big player in the English world. Google. You should know that Google, as we see here, 2010, their revenue was $29 billion. Their profit was $8.5 billion. 2011, it grew a lot to $38 billion and $9.7 billion in profit. But how fast is that growing? If we take a look down a little bit, it says in 1999, Google was only at 220,000. And now it changed from 1999 to 2011 from 200,000 to 38 billion. It grew 173,000 times. So if you guys really want to be successful, that's what I'm talking about. You guys have the chance to do incredible things. Don't think small. You could do almost anything. And Google does many things. They have YouTube. Google has invested in that online universities, the courses, edX. They also have the Motorola phone. They have the operating platform for other programs like the Android system. They have Google Scholar, Translate, Insights. Even Apple, that a lot of people say is the best, but that's biased in the North American view, and it's biased just by people putting money into stocks regardless of company operating styles. Revenue in China for Apple was up over threefold year over year to almost $8 billion, representing the biggest quarter or the biggest few months in Apple in China for the whole company's history. And that's just 4 stores. 4 stores in China and 1 in Hong Kong. And that's not even with the iPad with these results. So it's growing incredibly fast. Yes, so far we're getting back to this. And when we're talking about globally, the world's biggest companies that manage the data are SAP having 22% of the market, Oracle having 15%, Microsoft Dynamics having 10%, and then there's a whole other group of people that have the rest. Those huge companies, if I explain, are kind of like the Microsoft Excel program on steroids. They're Microsoft Excel giants. So Microsoft Excel, anybody can use, and almost everybody does use. And in an Excel program like this, you can get information from a different table and it automatically comes here. And if you have information over here, as soon as you change information in your file, I can connect my file to your file, so this automatically gets upgraded. That's Excel. And Excel also has the adding and subtracting and the multiplications, and it combines different files, so it's pretty complicated. It is a data analytics program. But that's very, very simple. When you get into the idea of adding the value from the suppliers, or when the suppliers are available, and when that product is in the truck moving, when it's going to arrive at my door, and then how long it's going to spend inside my building getting upgraded, that's really complicated information. That complicated information, and a lot more information, is what SAP and Oracle does. They focus on that. And they can do it almost anywhere in the world. And yes, as you said, Rachel, the SAP and Oracle, they can put in systems where you just push a button and it changes from English language to Chinese language. That's fine. However, it still needs huge levels of customization to be effective. For example, in North America, where Oracle is produced, or in Germany, where SAP is produced, they have very different tax laws. And these people are very focused on taxes. That's the most important thing. So that system is going to be made for those countries' tax details. Yes?
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what I asked you, like, in the breakdown. Like, I thought, the paper talked about the westernized the ERP system failed in China because it didn't consider the Chinese cultural stuff. So that's why the way that I understood culture was like those stuff, but you just stated during the break that they failed because it was complicated.
That's different. Again, the idea, okay, so what I just heard from you is you've done research and you found that these SAP and Oracle companies, they are working in China, and there are several other Chinese companies doing the same thing in China that are growing even faster than Oracle. Yes. But because the MIS system, the data management system, it's like a Microsoft Excel, but much more detail, much more complicated. Sometimes it takes so much time to get that system working everywhere, and it's so expensive, over $1 million or more, just to get the program. Then you have to spend money to train people on how to use it. Some companies, if they don't put the program in properly, and if they don't train people on how to use it properly, and you start not telling when the supplies are going to be there at the right time, all of your sales data could be wrong. So some companies can go bankrupt. That's anywhere in the world. So it's complicated. You must understand the details. Great that you've identified that. But we've identified that SAP and Oracle have programs where they can just automatically push a button and it changes from English to a different language. But that's only one aspect of it. We've studied Hofstede and Trompenaar and Cluckhorn and Hall, and we know that there's much more to culture and value than just language. For example, taxation. In China, the tax policies are, it's not just a language translation problem. It's the whole idea of, do you have to pay the tax depending on this municipal government, or do you have connections with the national government, and are you a priority sector where the government gives special treatment and has less tax? All of those things will change your taxes, and it has nothing to do with the language and the translation. So you can have problems with it anywhere. So you must understand, it's best if you work for SAP. It's best if you understand how to manage all this data. But can you do it? Because it might cost over $1 million just to get the program, and then a lot more to get trained on how to use it. And don't forget, you have to train everybody in the company, not just the executives. The guys working at the truck, where the truck comes into the front door, they must be able to put into the system, the truck has arrived. And the first box has a crack in it. The second box and the 5,000 boxes after that, they're fine. They must all be able to use it, so it's complicated. So how can you do it? That's when we get into this again. Jump back a little bit, and we come to good old Google. Google is able to take that big data and use their computer programming to analyze and give you insights. So it's called Google Insights, or there's programs called Google Analytics. And with Google Insights, you can compare search volume patterns across regions or countries, categories, time frames, properties, many different things. For example, you can just click on the categories and find out how the hybrid in car companies in the United States is different and all of the different features of it. Or what are the new details related to the top celebrities in New York just in the last 30 days? Who is the most popular celebrity in this city? Just in the last week, you can find that information. Or related to seasonality. For example, how many apples were sold in 2006 compared to 2007? Or geographic information. How many tickets are different United States metro areas versus, or how many soccer games were played in Brazil compared to played in Italy compared to played in Germany. All of that stuff you can identify here with Google Insights, and that program is free. And Google also works with AdSense and pay-per-click. So if you understand how Google works with AdSense, you can put your company into Google and then secretly tap Google on the shoulder and say, I'll pay you an extra 50 cents if you tell the world about us every time they're looking for this word. That's considered the AdSense or pay-per-click. And so you can get at the top. And in general, advertising is free. You just need to identify your keywords as meta tags. And the data, the big data, can't look for everything all at the same time. They start by looking, for example, at the title, or at the abstract of a paper, or at the summary of a paper. Or what is even smarter than that, for example, in the English language, we have so many thes, T-H-E, or I's, just the letter I did this, I did that, I want to know this. You have to delete all of those words. So with Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, YouTube Analytics, Weibo Analytics, you just type in the main keyword and it can find information. For example, viewers. And that's identified here. And with Facebook Analytics, it tells you these details. It can tell you the page likes that you have. and how much that's been growing, or the total pages that have been liked over time, or the originality of these likes. The whole idea of the posts. When you put a post up into Facebook, when you make a comment into our class Facebook, it can tell you with the Facebook Analytics or Facebook Insights how many people looked at that post. Or, for example, if there's many people in the class, I can go in here and see, yes, Susan, she put a post, but nobody looked at it. So it's not a very good post. But Mary put a post in, and 100 people looked at it, and 100 people introduced it to other people. And those other people watched it 100 times each. All of those details will be identified to you what is valuable, what is good, and what is not. So each person will want to copy those practices and avoid those other practices. And that's based off, that can obviously be used for not just marketing, but management. One of the big things with this, not just the Google Analytics and Facebook Analytics and YouTube Analytics, is for all of this social media to be effective. It's just like big data. It has to be going through everything. You must be able to understand all of the aspects to get the best results. So understand how it impacts the customer. If you have a company, make sure that everybody in the company is aware of the details, from the CEO down, especially in areas like East Asia, where the executive or the CEO is the hierarchical leader and everybody copies him or her. That person must be committed to it and make everybody underneath them continue to focus on it. So here are some examples. YouTube has many things. YouTube has videos. YouTube has videos on how to use YouTube. And this is an example of how YouTube has a video on how to use YouTube data analysis called YouTube Analytics. And it tells you, you can make a YouTube video just like that guy, right? He made his first video for free. And he put it on YouTube for free. He got no money. But after so many people started liking it, and just after so many people started viewing it, and he can track that, you go into your YouTube account, open up the management, the administration box, or what's called the dashboard, and there's many different boxes. You click the box saying you want to make money from it, or monetize it. And then, if you don't do that, 1 million people can look at it, but you won't get any money. Google can keep it. But if you click on that, then the ads will be advertised on your video. The bottom of the screen, you'll have those advertisements. So Sai, he only made the song. But every time you look at the Sai video, there's an ad for a coffee machine or a car or underwear or something. Every time that company puts the ad on his video, he gets paid. Only because he clicked in the YouTube Analytics, he wanted the money. He wanted to monetize it. You guys can do the same thing. And it's even more valuable than that. It tells you what kind of video you should make. It tells you from all the information in the world what videos are most popular and what keywords are most popular. So you should make a video about that topic with those keywords about what you're interested in. And when you're titling it, use those keywords, because if those keywords are in the title and the keywords are in the meta tags or the keyword section, and if the keywords are in the references and your stories and your description section, you will go higher on that listing when anybody in the world starts searching for those details. That's how you get to the top. So that's how it will talk about how you can earn money from the ads, or how you can earn money from the pay-per-click, or how you can earn money from the banner ads. Provides information, estimate earnings, total views of the channel, the most effective format that's driving the revenue, for example, what topics to talk about. The biggest data analysis companies are called SAP or Oracle. And in China, there's others like King D we identified as very, very big. But those are very expensive programs you have to pay for. Google Analytics is free. Facebook Analytics is free. YouTube Analytics is free. So there's no excuse for you not to be able to manage yourselves well. And there's many other versions of the analytics programs. For example, here's Twitter, and it shows you here the peaks. This high bar here shows obviously you did something that created a lot of interest. People liked whatever you did at this day, and it will tell you exactly what you did and why people liked it. And then over here, or you did something that was very boring or not very interesting, or for some reason nobody was looking at you here. And it just so happens that they can tell you that, oh, that was a holiday and you just didn't work. So all of those details are available, and you can back up your last tweets, or you back up your information. I can go into YouTube and see what you watched several days ago. Even though you went onto the computer and then you stopped using the computer, I can still go in and see what you watched several days ago. Be careful what you're looking for. That's also important to know. One of the comments that we have here is that when you're using the programs, there's Naver, which is the Smart Reporter, the Naver Analytics. It's different than Google. It was generally designed, for example, Facebook was designed for university students. University students are, who knows, designed to party and get drunk and go crazy. But you have to remember that this is not just going to your friends anymore. This is now open to the world, to your grandparents, or also to your future employers and your teachers. I can see what you're saying. So you might want to think twice about what you're saying, especially if you're going to be saying anything negative or making any sort of negative images of yourself, like getting drunk at parties or complaining about work or something like that. These other people will be able to see that, and it could impact your customers or your business, whether you want to get a job or want to make a sale, just having that stuff there. All of that can be analyzed. With Naver, we see that there is a variety of information. It can graph the users that are visiting and show when they're visiting and why they're visiting. It can rate the valuable visitors. Which visitors are important, or the key visitors. Like, for example, it also says who are the expert bloggers. And you definitely want to work with the expert bloggers because they can help modify and improve your product or improve your service, what you're doing, because they're the experts. And not only can they help you develop a better product, but because they're the expert, many people in the community go to them and find out what should they use. So if they like you and work with you, lots of people will follow and start following you. Like I said, an old boring mayor in Vancouver, he started to get on, even though he's not Chinese, he was able to get onto the Weibo, Sino Weibo accounts and things and make up an account, and in 24 hours, he didn't just have 50,000 people looking. He had 50,000 people agreeing to always communicate with him and follow anything he says. This also graphs your pages viewed, the consumer keyword findings, and again, if you know what the keyword is, the main keyword that's working well, use that again and again in the future. You don't have to guess at marketing anymore. The whole idea of the company marketing, managing the marketing department, you know what has effect. You just have to understand that it can change from English to Korean to Chinese. The regional area of Weibo users, the number, the specific information, the gender information related to the users, even the horoscope information. It's important for marketers to understand all of these details. And it has been growing really, really fast. Any comments about any of these details? Keep going. I've explained almost all of these ideas, how to use social media. I've talked about how to use the insights, how to clarify the target with the keywords. Please make sure you understand that. If you have any questions, come back, review this PowerPoint, review. It was created by the team here. The team of students did a good job putting this together. Please make sure you know these details, not just for class, not just for the exam, although it might be exam questions, but this can make a big impact on you. And how to use Google Insights, or how to use Google, or YouTube is also Google, to make money. You can narrow down your keywords. It can tell you in the Google keyword tool what keywords are most popular. And then you can tag those related keywords and share those with other people. Make sure you understand all of these details. It's explained here. How to grow your audience. All of these ideas, you know that the loyal customers are much more valuable than the customers that are just coming for the first time and not coming back. So how to create loyalty. That's very important. One of the main things is to continue to communicate with them in their language and respond to them relatively quickly. Be careful, because some people say with big data, you can just get a computer program to make an automatic response, or make a computer program to say, oh, it's a sunny day. You can make a computer program to say, oh, the election results. They can scan the most popular news and just say, hey, this news is interesting, and it sounds kind of like it's a real person making comments, but people in the world are smart, and they can tell if it's an automated program. Automated programs can help you grow, but the best people do it personally. I'm not saying the best people do it themselves personally. I'm saying they do it with a person. Don't forget, another aspect of future management is outsourcing. What is ELANS? An example of that is the Wikipedia. In the old days, the old types of programs, very old days, people just went for one expert and got information from one expert, or they went out and they hired one person. The new ways are definitely changing. The new ways with the initial internet is one person, an expert, can make one website to give information to other people. But now the information is going back and forth, just like Wikipedia. Anybody can add details, but it is still controlled by experts. There's a bunch of information here. The next slide shows you the components of the Web 2.0. It has much more participation, usability, the design, the economy, standardization, mixability, convergence, it's video, it's everything. Make sure you're aware of these details. Companies in social media, they went from doing the traditional management and marketing where the company had ideas and products and the company would give it to the world. Now that's changing. People can get all the information they want together. People can listen to each other, and they will buy what their friends are saying more than just what the companies are saying. How does that impact with China? In North America, information is given to you and you accept it and you can respond. How is it different in China? The world's biggest market, one of the fastest, most powerful growing markets. You must understand there's differences. Why is social media different in China? Such as, yes, there's policies that are different. Yes, you must understand that they don't have the Facebook and the Twitter. What else would you have to understand? Why is any social media that is in China more important than any social media in the United States? If you care about China, that's more interesting. Yes, but let's just say we have two people. Chinese people in China and American people in the United States. The social media for them is more valuable than the social media here. Why? These guys share everything, these guys share everything. No freedom of speech. These guys, they can get information from anywhere. The TVs can say anything they want, and many times they do say anything they want, whether it's good or bad. Newspapers, the internet says anything. But in China, the government has censorship, and the government does not let TVs talk about certain things, and the government does not let you talk about government problems or big natural disasters, things like that. They don't talk to you about how to make bombs, for example, or the pornography, these things that are bad for humankind, supposedly. But if you are just communicating friend to friend, there's so many billions of people and so much information going back and forth, even the internet police in China can't stop that. So there's generally censorship in the public media, but the private media, like social media, you can do anything. That's where people get the information from the Sino Weibao or the Renren, the QQ, their version of Facebook. You have a comment?
They also, the Chinese government also prevents people from using on their websites, like YouTube or something.
Yes?
Isn't all another censorship?
Yes, it is. The Chinese government censors, and you might have heard, they did not let Google in at the beginning. Then Google did come in, but Google started to make problems. They started to show people how to make bombs, show people how to make their own drugs, show people how to rape people, for example. And the Chinese government doesn't like that, so they said, you've got to leave, or you're going to have criminal problems. So Google was arguing, and they left thinking that freedom is good. It's good to have freedom of these dangerous things, versus the Chinese government is not going to do it. They have a different style, a fatherly style of sharing information. And you can imagine your father is not going to teach you how to make a bomb and things like that. So if you want to do it in the father's house, you have to follow the father's rules. So they were saying that if you want to do it, you have to do it a certain way. So Google has now agreed they will work in China, but they're following these certain types of restrictions. They're very easily able to close down sites of anybody that's talking about these restricted or dangerous topics. So things are definitely changing. And the people are marketing information back and forth with each other. You want to buy a pen? You talk to your friend, which pen's the best. You want to buy a suit? You talk to your friends, which suit is the best, or which computer is the best, or which car is the best. You don't listen just to the company. You listen mostly to your friends. However, since the government is controlling the newspapers and the TV so much, in North America, people are listening less to companies. But since any information is kind of new information in China, even the companies have much more power. So regular customers still like listening to the companies for information. So companies must have a social media expression, or a social media outlet, or a way to interact. We're going to go through, we're going to finish the class as soon as we go through. These are some tips or some social media things to note. What most companies might not know. Of the companies surveyed that are using or planning to use social media, 79% are doing this. 58% are currently using social media, 21% are preparing to launch it. And this is kind of old information. And again, this is generally the Western-based stuff. Social media has arrived, but companies still aren't sure what to do with it. 58% of companies are currently engaged in social networks like Facebook, and they're sharing information on platforms such as YouTube, but the research shows that the companies still haven't figured out how to properly use that investment. Can you guys read that bottom line here? These reviewers found that much of the investment yes? That very first line is what I wanted you to notice the most. Most companies know it's effective, but most companies don't know how to be effective. So what we're talking about today, if you put this on your resume, if you put this on your Kakao, if you put this on your Facebook, if you put this on your QQ, your Renren, it will be much easier for you to get a job because companies want these experts. You want to manage something? You can manage this in almost any company, in almost any industry, and get a job. So please make sure you know these points. For example, how effectively do you think your company is using social media? 43% say it's ineffective. Everybody knows it's important, but they're doing a bad job right now. They want an expert to come in and tell them how to do it. So please take notes of this. This is how you get a job. I don't want to hear any of you hearing anything other than, oh, my biggest headache is I have too many companies that want to interview me. So if companies have been researched and surveyed, what extent do they say with these things? They say the effective users at the top. Social media is important. Most people are saying that. The use of social media by our organization is a main tactic. That's what a lot of the effective people are saying. Social media is integral. It's the main part of our business, of our goal. That type of character makes you successful. And if you say social media has been designated as a high priority, all of the companies that say those things are the most effective. Make sure you understand that. The companies that are not growing as well, the companies that are not very effective, those are the companies that say it's difficult to see value. It's the companies that say social media tools are not related to us. Obviously that's wrong because social media can relate to anything. And the companies that say that social media for business purposes is just a popular fad, those companies are not going to be very successful. Which of the following are the three most important challenges that your organization currently faces with regard to social media? So of all people surveyed, most people say understanding the potential of social media to make a difference in your business is the most important thing to understand. Learning how to use it. Linking social media activities to an impact on your company or your return on investment is another hugely important thing. So you guys know this, it will definitely impact you. What does the very bottom line here say on this page? Blah, 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 blah. But what does that mean? Did I hear dating a person that can manage this is good? Yes. Dating a person that can manage this is very, very good. But companies don't want to just date you unless you're thinking of outsourcing and ELANs. They want to hire you. If you can manage this, you will get a job. It's one of the most important aspects of a company. So if you walk into an interview, they can ask you all sorts of questions about the product color, the size, the number of customers. Then the interview is finished. If they don't talk to you about your social media skills, you should talk about it. Show that you know this, and it's almost 100% you've got the job. Most people don't know how to do this. Please take notes. Next, which areas of your company are responsible for developing your social media strategy? What is the problem here? This is showing most companies. The gray area of this is most companies. And they're saying this is how they're working. But there's a problem here. What's happening, Rachel? Okay. Yes? Any other comments? Can you explain why that's a problem?
Because in order to explore more about internet and for those who are experts in those fields, they need more finance and
In general, what we've just heard is correct. The old style of doing business was interacting with customers is only in the marketing department. So the old thinking style is you interact with customers only with marketing. But is that true anymore? Nowadays, social media is everywhere, impacting everybody. So even programs like finance departments, they are the ones that are dealing with the customers' payments and things. So finance should be controlling that financial aspects of the social media. And of course, your operations. Your customer wants to know when they're going to get your product or service. Why is it being delayed? I had a friend just this morning that he was telling me that he ordered a product in North America. He ordered a computer. He's in Seoul, Korea, and his computer was sent from North America, delivered to Incheon, Korea, not Seoul, Korea, different city, then sent over to Shanghai, China, because they realized it was wrong, then sent over to Tokyo, then sent back to like Singapore, then sent to Alaska, then sent to Vancouver, then sent to the far side of Canada, and then it's hopefully going to be on its way. But this idea of if operations are not tracking the big data, what's going on, customers will not continue with that type of service. So the simple note where a friend is saying this online is going to scare a lot of customers away from that business. That's why I didn't tell you the name of the product. And of course, R&D. How do you research and develop customers? What's the best way to do it? In the old days, you would look for the top engineer. In the old days, you look for the top scientist. In the old days, you look just for the Einstein. That doesn't work as well as just putting the question out there and letting the society develop the product or research the product for you. And then you modify your product accordingly. Those are your innovators. Those are the people that get other people to buy it. Make sure you listen to them. It should be almost equal. Each department should be equal. It should be equally throughout the whole organization and promoted by the CEOs, the top executives. So here, what are the main benefits of using social media that brought to your company? Of course, the biggest benefit that most people are saying is it's increased awareness of our organization, the products and the services of our customers. It's also increasing the traffic to our website. All of this is showing how it's so incredibly important. And it's not just in Facebook, it's in all of the social media around the world. The hard part is to find out which ones to use the most. But you can go into the analytics and find out how many customers there are and what type of customers there are. And so you must find, for example, Facebook is very good, but LinkedIn might have more professional contacts. And in China, you might want Sina Weibao because that might have more contacts depending on that market. So pick accordingly. It can also, does your organization promote your brand, products, and services via the social media? 87% say yes. These are showing you details of what most companies don't know about social media. Next, we're going to talk about how to make some good social media. This is talking about how to make a good Facebook post. Facebook is growing very, very fast in many countries. Not all, not in China, but if you're going to use it, it's the same basic answers. In general, you must be positive. Number one, because if you're negative in Korea, it's illegal. You can go to jail for 7 years if you start saying bad things. The whole idea of the Pepsi Coke taste test, this one tastes better than the other one, that's illegal. Saying the other one doesn't taste good. Be positive. Don't forget, your future employers or your future customers are looking at this information. But be honest. Provide a link for information. You can't get all of the details into just a few words, so provide a website link where they can get more information. For example, down here, if you want more information, you should be looking at this HubSpot 12 revealing marketing stats about Facebook for business. Next, make sure that you're mobile friendly. More and more people are just using mobile communications. Next, be available, respond, reply, engage with the users. And of course, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Use the pictures. Same thing for Twitter. Make sure that there's some sort of call to action. Have the proper punctuation with the hashtags, etc. Make sure that you have the shortened URLs. You don't need to have the very long URLs. There's very easy ways to take a long URL and make it very short. You guys should know how to do that. Anybody know how to do that yet? Anybody know how to use a website name that's very, very long and change it so that it's very short? Something you should check. Same thing with Pinterest. This is a popular program in the Western world. Make sure that you understand these details. Same thing when you're using Google+. Google+ is obviously very important. It talks about how you should deal with trending topics and how to use images, how to find the related communities, how to interact with the connectors, how to use the proper hashtags, the number signs, and that @ symbol that associates you with certain keywords. Make sure you know those details. Instagram, the same type of thing. Vine, the same type of thing. Make sure you understand Vine is different than Line in Japan. This might be more interesting. What is the best time to use this stuff? Let's say you can't sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. Should you be promoting your company then? Why not? Maybe. Sorry? People can't see it. The people that are awake at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's just a few people that are awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, maybe not around universities, but usually the customers at 2 o'clock in the morning are kind of rare. But everybody can post things, so if you put something up there, it's going to be lost in that junk of the 2 o'clock in the morning crowd. If you want your regular customers to know about you, post during the time the regular customers are noticing it. For example, generally 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Just before the company goes to break, they're not going to be doing that. They're going to be finishing up the work for the day. Right at the beginning of the day, they're going to be focusing on the meetings and things. Twitter, same thing. Pinterest, these are the times. LinkedIn, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Why would you do that?
Because 7 and 9 a.m. they go to
That's when the business executives, the most powerful business people, are generally most active. Right. 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 And perhaps LinkedIn at 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., that's when you're drunk and you don't want to be contacting people as you're drunk. Right. Make sure you're aware of what's best to promote yourself and what's worst. Next, what are some interesting facts about Facebook? I'm just going to go through this quickly. These are just interesting facts, the chit-chat. Facebook matters for business owners. 42% of marketers say it's critical. Of the people that have been studying, since 2009 to 2012, it has been growing 75% in importance. Here, it's not just Facebook that matters. 62% of marketers say social media is more important than just 6 months ago. It's growing in importance incredibly fast. Marketers' investment in social media. It has 100% higher close or sale than in the past. In the past, you have a guy walking up to you saying, do you want to buy this? And a lot of people would just avoid them. Nowadays, people are only going to go to the site if they're interested, especially if you have the big data, if you're targeting the people that are related. So there's a much, much easier chance to find somebody interested and they will be a good customer. And almost all of that is free. Next, it definitely makes sense to invest in Facebook. For business to consumers, 77% of the companies acquire customers from B2C. And for B2B, even though they're much, much bigger, like lottery jackpot prizes, 43% of even big businesses use the Facebook. Which business is getting the most benefit? It's talking here about retail, because that's a lot of the most people, the youngest people are dealing with that. Education, people aren't too focused on this. They learn something when they're young, when they're getting older, it might get it kind of stale. Tech, software, healthcare, manufacturing. In general, the youngest market is most active. Marketers struggling. Generally, one of the big problems is getting increased exposure. And this is answered how? How do you get more exposure? What is an easy way to grow your business and find more customers? The answer is, I have to go back about 6 different pages here, and it tells you, find what are the popular topics, and find what are the most popular keywords. Make sure your company is using that. It should not be very hard. What about the opportunities? The return on investment for Facebook, it says 80% of United States social network users prefer to use Facebook to connect with brands. Make sure you understand those. Even things like the timeline has been helping. Interactive content is leading the way. Make sure that you understand you should interact with the business. brands have seen a 65% increase in user engagement of interactive content with the new timeline, especially with interactivity. Is it all perfect? It's not all perfect. It shows here that of every 9 people that look at your link, only 1 might do something and share it with somebody else. Is that good information or bad? Does that mean you're wasting your time? Absolutely not, because the old style of business, you still have to use your time to try to contact 1 person. But now, all you need to do is, when you're going to be contacting one, start with contacting somebody on social media, and they will be able, that social media will be able to go out to millions or billions of people, and you'll be able to have exponential increase in productivity. If you are going to do it, don't just computerize it. That's an easy way to start, but if you're very serious, make it personal. Get somebody to reply to your customers. You might need to hire somebody in a certain area or a certain country to help you manage this. Anybody know where is the most active call center place in the world? Or where is the most active place to find people to write down your comments on Facebook?
India.
Good guess, several years old. India is the answer, yes. India is old. The right answer is Philippines. Makati or Manila, Philippines is now the call center capital of the world. More people are hiring people from the Philippines because supposedly their culture is famous for being friendly, with good English, and cheerful. Those characteristics and the fact that Philippine regular wage is cheaper than the price in India. Anybody have any idea how much is the average pay in some countries? Some places want to get $10 an hour. Some places want to get $50 an hour for pay. In the Philippines, most people are generally looking for $2 an hour, or $3 an hour is considered good. So those costs are making the Philippines very, very attractive, especially for outsourcing. And it may become apparent in these. These are some of the world's supposedly most popular business websites. In our business class, what are the business websites to reference? Yahoo Finance is very, very good. It shows that they have 50 million estimated unique monthly visitors, and it shows the ranking. CNN Money says that they have 49 million estimated monthly users. Then you have the Wall Street Journal, Google Finance, MSN Money, several others I'll show you, but I would guess that although Yahoo Finance is pretty good, it almost seems like Google is unstoppable, just like China. Google is growing for sure. Next, quality of social media. Make sure you understand these ideas of the social presence versus the media richness. We're almost finished. There's a couple other things I wanted to show you. This is information about some of the world's biggest information management companies. Management of information systems. The world leader is right in the middle, SAP. It shows they're famous for strong product development functionality. They have ease in supporting make-to-order processing. I think that's really interesting. That means if you want to make a website selling something, you can make a website, get customers to tell you how much they want, then you can get a program like this to tell you how you can make that individual product just for your orders. It also has clear visibility for your goods in transit, where your goods are going, like FedEx, where exactly it is, the quality control, good compliance with the tax regulations, etc. Cash management is very well developed here. Oracle is generally the next best, and they're saying they have strong finance and accounting information. They have good pricing modules, Wellbit IT. Microsoft Dynamics is newer but growing quite quickly. And of course, you have to understand that these are the global leaders, SAP, Oracle, but it depends on where you are. Because it's so complex, you must understand the individual characteristics. For example, last week that we talked about the new topic, we were saying that China's biggest companies are what? What are the names of the biggest companies in China? Sinopec, State Grid, yes. A lot of the Chinese construction companies, a lot of the Chinese banks are very, very important. Almost all of those big state-owned enterprises in China are using SAP. Why? Because they're the biggest, they have the most money, they want the best to develop. They go to the world's best to do it, and they can pay easily millions of dollars to do it. But most companies are not huge like that. Most companies are much smaller. That's why a lot of the smaller companies are using the Chinese ERP companies, like Kingdee. Make sure you're aware of that. SAP is the global leader, and they're capturing most of the state-owned enterprises. Kingdee, for example, ranked number 3, has 13% of the market, and that's usually for the smaller or medium-sized companies. This, if you're interested, shows you about how you might have some problems, and you must understand not just the cultural differences, but the technical cultural differences when you're managing with people. You must understand the motivational management differences, the cultural management differences, the technology management differences, and the technical details. Different beliefs in providing access to information. Some people want to keep all of the information inside. If you have that, there's going to be problems. Miscommunications due to the similar meanings, or similar sounds, or similar words with many meanings. Difficulties in re-engineering the organizational processes. Usually, you can associate ERP systems with a Microsoft Excel. When you make this Microsoft Excel, it's a huge, huge complicated program. To learn how to do it takes a long time, and it could cost a lot of money. Some companies can go bankrupt if you don't do it properly, if you don't have the proper training. So in general, the trick seems to be you need to teach everybody in the company what is good about data, what's good about IT, what needs to be developed, and make your new ERP system, your data management system, equal and match exactly what you need. Start from the top and the bottom. Everybody needs to be able to buy in on this. Other than that, there's a bunch of questions for discussion that we were talking about, and here's, if you have interest in these, those are the questions for discussion at the end of the chapters and some answers. This is also interesting. A lot of people still might forget. When we started the class, I was referring you to what is a very easy to read SSCI article that all students could write something like this and become famous. Well, this was an article written by Gert Hofstede in Asian Management for the 21st Century, and it's talking about each country has different motivations. We remember how these are different? How there is similarity here? It is interesting to note that the most important factors that they value in the United States are generally considered factors they don't like in China. Take a look here. Personal wealth is at the top, very valuable. But if we understand the middle line here is the difference between on the top is what you like and on the bottom is what you don't like, or the least appreciated, Chinese people don't like personal wealth. The opposite of North America. And the whole idea of responsibilities toward employees, that concept being what they don't care about in North America, is considered one of the top responsibility towards society in other areas. Make sure you know those things. Questions in the future? What are your own assumptions about motivation? What method of motivational theory do you think is best? If you're the CEO of a business with more than 100 staff, what kind of management are you going to adopt? Another possible question, can each of the management theories or motivational theories apply everywhere? Why or why not? Last thing I'll leave you with is this slide. Sorry, there's a couple other slides I'll probably talk about, but I think this slide is very, very interesting. You should definitely take a look at this multilingual social media. Go into Google, all of these are in Google, sorry, not Google, YouTube specifically, and multilingual social media, and if you're getting tired after a long class, Feel free to use your cell phone to start looking at these now. How to grow your market using the Chinese social media. It's a 48-minute, very interesting program talking about how to develop. The next one is talking about the most cost-effective ways to reach the Chinese. The next is just a short 10-second clip showing which Chinese social media sites are most popular, why you should be using those. All of these are very, very interesting. Some of you, I understood, were interested in Samsung phones or the iPhones. And the bottom one talks about how China has one of the fastest growing new smartphones there is. And it's called Xiaomi. So please make sure you understand these. Here's references we've used for today. The last little bit I'll be presenting is more interesting things about social media in China. I would like you guys to learn some social media in China. What are the data analytics for Weibao? Or which programs are the most popular in China? That could be a test question. So this talks about that website that I was referring you to, multilingual social media, how to grow your market using Chinese social media. Who are the Chinese social media users? Most of them are young, mid-income, and educated Chinese. That sounds like a perfect target market for most of the products you might want to sell. The users who spend more time in social media sites are the young, well-educated, and high-income urban Chinese. Why does it suit these people? Because you can consider these facts. The demographics, rural to urban migration, and the whole idea of the social disconnect. The loneliness of Chinese one-child generation. They don't have brothers and sisters, so they want to communicate with others around them. Don't forget, they're in the group-oriented society, so they don't have a group in their family. They have to have some sort of connection with people outside. Information disconnect. As we were saying earlier, the government doesn't give all of the information, so you must have social media to be connected with what's going on. How do they use it? They are interested in the brand, in the company information, from the companies and your friends, and the current affairs discussion. Of course, jokes are very popular, but remember, when you're translating jokes into a different culture, it's one of the hardest things to do. That's one of the reasons why you don't hear me making too many jokes. Making jokes here are going to be salung, right? Icy. Self-help information sharing, music, movies, sports information, very popular. Personal stories sharing is of course very popular. Chinese netizens obviously like to find out more information. Compared to global customers, 43% want to find more information versus globally only 29% want to find more information. It's almost the same thing for things to remember. Didn't notice? A big difference is Chinese people don't find that social media intrusive. They don't find it bothering them. They don't find it jajingna. Versus in North America, they will find 22% find it bothering. Here's some more stats talking about what they do on social media. 71% like to watch commercials in China because a lot of the government restricts commercials on TV. So the social media is one of the only ways to see what's happening, and these X-rated or pornographic or the censored videos are interesting to see, so they like to see it. It's very different than in the Western world. China media's social mainstream, on average, they have 2.78 social media accounts, 228 million bloggers last year, 80% more in the last week. On average, they're spending 20 hours per week on social networks. Obviously, it's very different and very important. The amount of social media users in China, there's 450 social media users. That's more than the entire population of Canada and the United States combined. 80% of the China's netizens are on social media platforms. 564 million, more than all of North America, are internet users. 420 million Chinese are mobile internet users. Those circles at the bottom, make sure you know them, at least those big ones. What is one of the most popular ones you should know? Weibo. Which one is that? Second from where? Left, right? Okay, it's the picture of the eye, right? Sina Wibao. Make sure you understand that picture of the eye. You all need to understand that. That is gold. That is valuable. That's how you get in. What's the penguin? What's Pororo? QQ. Ren Ren. That's how people are chatting. 748 million people are chatting with the QQ. QQ initially came from I seek you. I'm looking for communicating with somebody else. I seek you. And it was just shortened from I seek you to QQ. And incidentally, QQ is also Ren Ren in China. What does Ren Ren mean? People. People to people. Right. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. Make sure you know that stuff. And finally, we're finished.